Oh, sorry. I can't see the monitor from there. Thank you, Matthew. My name is Bob Greenberg, and I'll do my piece. In the audience are some of the world's most powerful brands, and we're very fortunate to have some of them as our clients. At RGA, we tried to build a company that was the ultimate partner for clients. But over the last 2 years, we've been working with different startup companies as part of our accelerator. And they're completely different with very few people, big challenges, and extremely small budgets. But they all want to become industry leaders of tomorrow. Last year on stage, we presented the work we did with Beats by Dre, a company that started less than 10 years ago in Los Angeles. Also, Beats had just been acquired by Apple for $3 billion. Their success has been astounding, and we're very happy to have helped them get there. For Beats, much of our work involved rethinking their communications, how their brand's voice could be more responsive in real time, and a simple idea but challenging to pull off. Whenever I'm in LA to meet with Beats or some of our other clients, I love to go to lunch or dinner and listen to what people are talking about. What you'll hear are lots of ideas. It seems like everyone in LA is always on the lookout for the next big thing, and of course that's nothing new. 15 years ago, I'd be in a restaurant and everybody would be talking about a new script that they're trying to make into a movie. When I was there in 2008, everyone was discussing the idea of a new app. And just last year, everyone, of course, was talking about a new startup. What you'll always hear is incredible optimism. Everyone is absolutely positive that they're going to be the next big thing. But the reality is really quite different. What you always hear is the challenges to make a script into a movie are extremely difficult, and to get an app that's working is a little bit more challenging. And of course, in the startup world, it's even tougher. Almost all new businesses fail, and startups are even more so. That's because ideas aren't enough. If you're going to beat the odds, you'll need to have more than an idea, you'll need a vision. When I started RGA back in the late 70s, it was based on a simple but challenging idea. Take amazing design work for print and bring it into motion. But the vision was to keep up with the media landscape and change along with it. To stay ahead of the curve and not be commoditized was our goal. It's our vision more than anything that kept us competitive. Today, that vision is summed up by our tagline, RGA for the connected age. Today, the lines between our industries are blurring, and the distinctions between what is a service and a product are beginning to disappear. The opportunities for innovation have never been greater, and that's why you're seeing an explosion in this startup world. But while startups are looking to fulfill this vision, our industry has been stuck looking for the next big idea. Maybe that's why there's the belief that agencies can't do startups. Startup company doesn't really need a television spot, although that is still important, but it's not enough. We consult with companies to develop communications that are socially relevant in addition to products and service innovation. These are new areas of focus for RGA, and they're the reason that we're no longer an agency. but a hybrid of an agency, consultancy, and innovation company. Within these categories, we have a diverse range of capabilities. Later, you'll see how they've been able to apply these capabilities in different ways for all of our startups. Before we start telling you about our accelerated program, I want to take just a moment to thank Michael Roth, Frank Morgenthaler, and Philippe Krakowski for being so supportive of our vision of a company that's always in change. Now let's get started. Today we're going to explain why we began this initiative, how we made it happen, the work that we're doing for the companies, and the impact that it's had on RGA. Each of our presenters here today will go through one part of the story and show how we made this program work. So let's get started. I'd like to introduce Barry Waxman, RGA's Global Chief Growth Officer. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Thanks, everyone, for coming today. Now, a lot of you might be asking, why would a company like RGA get involved with startups? We're used to working with big Fortune 500 companies, and these companies typically have no money, right? So why would we do it? I think there's three key reasons why we decided to start the program. And the first is just the simple fact that the agency business itself is really under pretty intense fire these days. In many ways, we often feel marginalized, for those of you who are agencies in the audience. Right now, there's no fewer than about 25 different global reviews going on with these types of global brands. And every year, there's pressure on us to try to figure out how to do what we do less expensively, more and more procurement-driven reviews, more and more the marginalization of the AOR relationship, and just the endless pitching, even for small projects. And so we as an industry would be kind of foolish if we didn't start to look at maybe some alternatives. What can we do with all the firepower that we've developed at a company like RGA? Are there other ways for us to perhaps make money, even if it just turns out to be new services that we sell to our clients? Now, our clients are similarly under attack. The same technology that's disrupting the advertising industry is disrupting all of the companies that we work for. It started perhaps with the music industry with Napster, but that's now spread to just about every client category, every industry. So they're under intense competition and intense threat. And it's all of these companies that not too long ago were startups themselves that are the ones that are applying the pressure. Companies like Uber and Zipcar are making the idea of car ownership something that might not be required any longer in the future. Airbnb is putting intense pressure on the hotel industry. And the streaming services are questioning whether or not any of us need to go out and buy CDs or even download music any longer. So all of our clients are under intense pressure. These have become the hot places to work, and they in turn are triggering a talent war in our industry. Because as they continue growing, and these are the fastest growing companies in the world right now, as they continue to grow, the question emerges, where are they going to get the talent from? Well, the obvious place, they're coming to places like RGA. They're going after our developers, they're going after our designers, they're going after our business strategists. We're exactly the people that they need to hire from. And so they've triggered a talent war in our industry. So we needed to figure out a way to make a place like RGA appealing to our own staff, not to mention a place that continues to be appealing to our clients. So how can we get them to participate in startup culture and energy? The other thing to point out is that the same clients that marginalize the agency business themselves are in desperate need for innovation. All of them are looking to reinvent themselves in the connected age. They're all looking to create things that are very different from what they might have done in the past, and they're having a very hard time finding innovation from within. So how can we even get startup culture into their world? How can we help them see the power of new ideas to power their businesses forward? Now, a lot of other agencies have came to the same conclusion long before RGA did, and we saw the flurry of the development of different agency labs and incubators in recent years. And a lot of them were modeled on the Google idea of 80-20, the idea that you spend 80% of your time working on your core job, and you can spend 20% of your time working on a project on the side. And so a lot of agencies started the idea of a lab internally around that idea. All of our employees have great ideas. Let's give them a way to bring those ideas to market. Now that turns out that it's a bit of a pipe dream. Anybody who's worked in a startup knows that you're looking at an 80-hour work week with a team of at least 4 people, and quite often quite a bit more. You have almost no budget, you have almost no access to resources. So the idea that you could do an 80-20 and just spend 20% of your time and come up with a really great new business is probably not going to happen. So we needed to come up with something different. We didn't want to go down the same path that we'd seen before. Now, meanwhile, on the other side of the world, this number represents the amount of money that venture capital firms invested in startups in 2014 globally, $86 billion. That's more than double the combined revenues of WPP, Omnicom, Publicis, and our parent company, Interpublic Group. So this is an enormous industry and tons of money being spent there. Now, however, there's an interesting metric in the VC world. About 1 in 20 investments that they invest money in ever pay out. So 19 out of 20 fail, 95% failure rate. So that means that the company that they invested money in doesn't even return back the original investment. So the odds of success are quite low. But was there some way that we could change the game? Could we even find a way just to slightly improve these odds? And if we could, would that potentially transform the entire startup industry? And for all those reasons, in 2013, RGA decided to launch this accelerator program. Now, we knew we couldn't do it alone. We had no experience. We needed a partner, and we found these guys. So Techstars is one of the leaders in what's known as the accelerator companies, and they were founded about 10 years ago, and they've had an amazing track record of success. They give their startups access to a network of mentors as well as a network of investors. They provide advice along the way, and as you can see, they've worked with hundreds of companies. They've raised over $1.5 billion for them, and 70 of those companies have been acquired, so they've got a pretty good track record. Could we help them accelerate even further? We had met Techstars for the first time. We were working together on a project with Nike. RGA had long been involved in the development of Nike Plus and Nike Fuel. And in 2013, Nike ran an accelerator program around the idea of extending fuel. And that's where we met Techstars for the first time. And through that partnership, we started to see how they worked. So what Techstars was already bringing to the table is what I just mentioned. These networks of investors and mentors, they have a playbook. They know how to do the process of getting a startup through their program. And we thought, this is all great. They're already doing a lot of remarkable stuff. But what if we combine it with what we do? No one had ever tried that before. No one had ever taken what a startup accelerator company like Techstars had done and combined it with a company like RGA that provides all of these services day in and day out to Fortune 500 companies. And these, we thought, might be the key to success. What if you could help change the game in terms of execution? That, to us, was where a lot of startups were failing. They had great ideas, but it was the execution of those ideas that often was off the mark. So the combination of RGA and Techstars was truly a remarkable combination. It had never been done before, and we were hoping that we could come together and make a difference. Now, what if we could go from 1 in 20 to perhaps 2 in 20, or maybe even a little bit beyond that? A 100% improvement in an $86 billion a year industry would be game-changing. So what did we do, and was it successful? I'm going to turn it over to Nick, and we'll start to find out.
Thanks, Barry. So that should have given you guys an idea of the thinking that went into the accelerator. Let's dive in a little bit deeper into the execution, how we structure the program, and our overall process, from selecting the companies all the way through to the demo day event, which culminated the program. So first of all, what is an accelerator? At its most basic level, a host company selects a group of startups, provides investment funding, services, mentorship of various types in exchange for equity in the companies. Unlike an incubator, which has a more flexible rolling admission format, an accelerator works more like a boot camp, has a fixed duration, a start and an end date. So the format for our program was pretty simple. 10 startups, 3 months, $120,000 in investment funding, for about a 5% stake in the companies. But that was the easy part. Accelerators typically also have a theme. The Nike Plus program that Barry mentioned earlier, for example, focused on fitness and sport companies. But for our program, we didn't want to focus on a single mature vertical, like ad tech, for example. We wanted to focus on something that we saw cutting across all verticals. And that was connected devices and the Internet of Things. Now, we had a lot of experience working in this space. Back in 2006, we helped launch Nike Plus. And we'd seen how the digital platform enhanced the product experience. And while the hardware changed over time from the embedded chip in the shoe originally to the smartwatch to smartphones, now wearables again, the intersection of the physical world with the virtual with the software layer and the product was what made it so powerful. And it wasn't that digital was just another communications channel for talking about the product. In fact, it was the product. And so what we saw was that product was becoming software. And in a kind of co-evolution, software was also becoming product. And this was changing the whole consumer model for buying products and services. And you saw ripple effects across the industry, right? Software companies were becoming hardware companies, and hardware companies had to become software companies. You saw Uber delivering cars as a service. You saw Google, a search company, getting into the connected home business with the Nest acquisition. You saw Oculus and Facebook redefining what it meant to be someplace physically. A watch would no longer just be a watch. Even a gym would no longer be just a room full of disconnected bikes. This encroachment of software into the physical world was going to change every one of our clients' industries, and it would change our own. So this was the theme around which we selected companies for our first 2 programs. We wanted to find the next Nike Pluses, the next Google Nests of the world. And so when we put out application on the basis of this theme, the response was really incredible. We had really touched a nerve. We received tons of inbound interest from industry leaders, venture capital who were working in this space, the Internet of Things. But more importantly, we received hundreds of applications from around the planet, over 40 different countries. And so we had to go through a grueling process of curating the companies in our program. We had to meet the founders, test the products. When we selected the companies, they came into our New York City headquarters where we had designed a space for them. We'd renovated an entire floor, and we'd created individual workspaces for them, an electronics lab, a 3D printing studio, huddle rooms, shared collaboration spaces. And then we introduced all of the teams to our RGA staff across our various offerings: analytics, brand strategy, UX design, technology, prototyping. But we had to form curated teams for each of the companies based on their unique needs. We also had adopted Techstars' mentor-driven methodology, and we brought in over 100 different mentors: entrepreneurs, venture capital, brand leaders, many of whom were also clients. And they each brought a unique perspective and a different value to the companies. Some of you guys are in the room today. It was incredibly valuable for the startup founders to meet with the mentors because most of them were tech-oriented and they didn't have any experience building global brands to scale. But it turns out, for the mentors that came in, there was a huge amount of value that they got out of it as well. For one thing, they walked away with a lot of insights from the startup community. But also, these founders, a lot of them represented the future disruptors of their own industries, and sometimes their future customers. Another big part of the process was pitch practice. This was where the startups got a chance to distill their pitch to potential investors and customers. So on the west side of our accelerator space, we set up a staging area where each of the founders could practice their pitches in front of a live audience. The live audience would pick their pitch apart, but the founders would come back stronger, more confident, with a tighter story every time. Here you see the CEO of Kinetic. This is a company that develops tools to keep warehouse workers safe. All of this was in preparation for Demo Day, where each of the 10 startups had an opportunity to deliver their pitches in front of a live audience. One of the things that we did that was completely unique was live demos. Here you're seeing the CEO of SkySpecs demonstrating the Guardian service. We were so confident in this technology that we brought the drone and we flew it in an audience very similar to what we have here. In fact, we tried to fly the drone on the stage here, but the Palais apparently takes your safety a little bit more seriously than we did. So it was high stakes for these companies. The audience was packed with potential investors. This was the culmination of all their work and our work together. And it was the first real test of how well their story would resonate. Later, Stephen is going to talk about how successful these demo days have been in terms of capital raises and the traction that they've gained. So, these industries that I showed you before, as different as they are all poised to be transformed by software-wielding startups. Through our program, we've helped launch not one, but 20 different companies, each one bringing a fresh approach to their respective industries. And each one also bringing their own unique set of challenges when they came into our program. So this posed some very interesting challenges for our teams. Here to walk you through some of those companies, I'd like to introduce Rich Ting, Chief Experience Officer, and my partner in crime through this whole process. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Now you all know how we set up the program. So let's take some time now to actually look at some of the work that we did for these startups. So I'm going to walk you guys through some of the videos of these projects. So at last year's Cannes Lions, one of the big winners was Alveo. Alveo was part of our first accelerator about 2 years ago. Now, for people that don't know Alveo is innovating in the health and wellness space. And they actually created a device that allows people with respiratory breathing issues to train their lungs to get better. Let's take a moment, let's watch their case study video.
Running, playing, and jumping is the best part of being a kid. But if your child has asthma, it's really asthma that has them. Medication can help, but most parents are concerned about over-medicating their kids and looking for better solutions. It turns out that when asthma patients track their conditions and exercise their lungs, it cuts their need for medication by up to 86%. But the devices patients are given today are boring, not fun to use, don't track data, or offer lung training. They're just about the last thing a kid would be interested in. That's where Alveo comes in. Alveo is a breathing trainer that acts like a game controller. But instead of using your thumbs, you control the game with your breath. Alveo tracks your progress while you play, and because it's fun, kids will keep playing while they get healthier. We help to design Alveo's games around the ways people need to improve their lung health. Inhaling and exhaling moves the character up and down to hit targets. Other games measure how hard you can exhale, a very important indicator of the seriousness of your condition. Parents can see how their kids are doing and get notified if their condition takes a turn for the worse or is improving. We helped Alveo create their groundbreaking product and experience, from branding and naming, to positioning and targeting, to refining and prototyping the controller, to the user experience of the app and the games themselves. Now, Alveo is partnering with some of the top hospitals in the US to make their games even more useful. So we can help even more kids with asthma go out and play, and help their parents breathe easier.
Okay, so after each of these videos, I'm going to briefly explain to you guys what we did to help these companies. However, for Alveo, I want to do a little bit of a deep dive to just give you guys a behind-the-scenes look at our lean and agile process for accelerating Alveo. When we first met Alveo, they were a great team. They had a fantastic idea. They had a workable prototype, but they were very far from being a proper business. So for us, the first challenge with Alveo was to reposition them as a brand, as well as reposition their product. When Alveo first came to us, they thought their product would be embraced by endurance athletes. But through our initial research and working with them, we realized that there was a bigger and better opportunity for Alveo if they actually started to focus on kids with asthma. Through our upfront strategy sessions, we learned that kids with asthma that train their lungs have an 86% chance of reducing their need for medication. Now, if you think about that, that's a huge $1 billion market opportunity with up to 26 million asthma patients in the US alone. So this seemed like the right strategy for us, but that's not enough from a work standpoint. You also have to really think about the brand. Now, there are lots of tools like this out there in the marketplace, these clunky lung exercising tools, but nothing even as remotely as exciting as Alveo. So this seemed like the right strategy for us, but we had to start thinking about their brand as well. One of our inspirations for the Alveo toy was this toy. So things like this toy have been around for lung training for many, many years. The way it works is you breathe into the device, the breath that you breathe in lifts up the ball. Now this very behavior would become the basis and the foundation of the Alveo brand. From that initial thought, we began developing names, marks, and a look and feel. One of our first naming attempts was Flow. This was nice, but it felt a little bit too clinical for a children's toy. Eventually, we settled on Alveo. As you can see, the mark underwent a tremendous transformation. At the end, we had a simple, powerful brand that felt both dependable and fun. But you need more than a logo. You need to think about how your brand behaves in the digital space and how that brand translates into your digital product as well as your software. So the next challenge for us was thinking about the actual device. So when Alveo came to us, their device looked like this. It was clunky, industrial looking. It was tethered to the iPod through this unsightly yellow cable. Not something a kid would want to play with every day. So our industrial designers, they explored a number of different options. They modeled, they prototyped. We also needed to make sure this thing was wireless, because who really wants to use a thing that's tethered to your iPod or iPad? Eventually, we landed on this physical device. This device was perfectly sized for a child's hand, and it also had a tapered mouthpiece to allow for easy gameplay. Then we thought about the actual game. The game had to be simple, but based in the real science of respiratory training. To get there, our designers sketched, wireframed, prototyped the experience. Now, breathing measurements, when you look at it from a scientific standpoint, are extremely complex, but we had to map those measurements simply to the gameplay. Our designers tried out a number of different character options, but of course, we just had to have this pufferfish. The designers then set forward to bring this pufferfish to life, mapping its movements to a child's speed and volume of breath. The team went through many iterations back and forth between our design team and our technology team to help bring this experience to life. I think in the end, when we finally tested it, the kids really dug it. In the end, we created 3 separate games for Alveo. Normally, this type of work takes anywhere from 6 to 9 months. We were able to do it in 6 weeks. Now, that's lean and agile for you guys. So that was Alveo. Let's take a look at some of the other companies we work with. At this year's Innovation Lions, a number of our accelerator companies are up for contention. And I'm proud to say 4 of the 35 innovations shortlisted were from the RGA Accelerator. Let's look at some of that work. First up is Owlet Baby Care, a device that helps parents and newborns track their baby's health in real time.
Is the baby sleeping peacefully? Or is something wrong? It's a question every new parent can relate to. That's why we created the Owlet Smart Sock. Start by telling us a little basic information about your baby in his profile. When you slip on the Owlet Smart Sock, it silently checks on him while he sleeps. You can see all you need to see right on your phone, no matter where you are. Owlet alerts you only if there seems to be a problem with your baby's heart rate or oxygen levels. It uses a proven safe technology called pulse oximetry that doctors and nurses have used for decades. And Owlet's base station can alert you even if your Wi-Fi and cell service go down. It's all about giving you a little more rest and a little less to worry about, because that's a pretty big deal. This is Owlet.
Okay. So for Owlet, we worked very closely with them to define a comprehensive research plan. We also refined their brand identity, and we designed their mobile experience from scratch, so that involved the user experience as well as the visual design and prototyping as well. Next up is Grove Labs, a company founded by MIT students who are rethinking how we source the food we eat.
Grove is a company on a mission to provide local, sustainably produced, and healthy food to everyone on the planet by helping them grow it themselves. This is the Grove ecosystem, a web-connected in-home farming appliance about the size of a bookshelf, where you can grow your own salad greens, herbs, tomatoes, peppers, and small fruits. Here's how it works. First, you feed the fish in the aquarium. The fish process the food into waste. Helpful bacteria convert the waste into nitrate, which is an optimal plant fertilizer. Finally, plumbing circulates this nutrient-rich water through every part of the grove. It's a complete ecosystem that is constantly carrying out the nitrogen cycle. It's all controlled and monitored by you with the help of an intuitive app called Grove OS. But this is just the beginning. Harnessing the power of a sensing, connected device, Grove Labs will learn how to grow healthier, tastier produce by collecting data from every Grove ecosystem. Just imagine a farm in every kitchen, in every home, reliably, sustainably producing food you know you can trust because you grew it. That's Grove, and it's the future of food.
Right. Whoa. Yeah, so that was Grove. So we worked very closely with Grove to help develop their website. We also helped to refine their product design. And then we created all the marketing materials that they use to pitch their company to investors, but then also to showcase their company at conferences around the world. Now, agriculture is generally not an industry that most agencies participate in, but I'm proud to introduce our second company in the agriculture space, BioRanger, a Hawaiian company that is revolutionizing lab testing for farmers.
Our food supply is under attack. And the amazing thing is, farmers are still detecting and fighting these pests and diseases the same way they did 50 years ago. They literally walk the fields looking for physical signs of disease, then mail away samples to a lab that takes 5 days for results, all while the disease can be spreading. It's no wonder that there are $75 billion in lost crops a year. This is why we created the BioRanger. BioRanger is a handheld biology lab. It's a breakthrough DNA system, replacing the 5-day mail-away process with immediate results. Here's how it works. A food or water sample gets placed in the BioRanger. The DNA is immediately extracted and the test is run. The app allows the farmer to watch the test in real time, and in 20 minutes they know the result. No waiting for physical symptoms to appear. No waiting for the lab to call in 5 days. And most importantly, no disease spreading. But where it really gets useful is the app then sends the data to the cloud, where it's recorded and summarized. It's then compared to weather and other test data from neighboring farms, so it can help manage the movement of the disease. For the first time in the history of farming, farmers have a tool that allows them to be proactive to diseases instead of reactive. We've also launched a marketplace so that every food scientist and researcher can sell their customized test kits, created using BioRanger's open API. Already, BioRanger is protecting more than 250 million acres of crops in South America's orange groves, in rural China, and on family farms in Iowa. And it's making food safer at your local grocery store and restaurants. This is BioRanger.
Okay. So for BioRanger, we worked very closely with them to develop their brand identity from scratch. We also built their website, their tablet app, their dashboard, and we did a ton of data viz around their large data sets that they're collecting from their farmers. The final company that we're going to show today is Hammerhead. Hammerhead is a maker of a device that helps cyclists navigate through the towns and the cities that they live or visit.
Biking's popularity is surging, but it's still hard for riders to find safe, direct routes. Using a smartphone to navigate while you're riding is dangerous. Hammerhead solves this problem by giving bike riders a new kind of navigation system, inspired by the ones that pilots use to land airplanes. While you're riding, lights help guide you in the simplest way possible. Left turns, right turns, gradual turns. When you make a mistake, Hammerhead can easily tell you to turn around. It connects to your smartphone using Bluetooth. Tell the app where you want to go, then put the phone away and ride. We helped make Hammerhead a reality, from building and positioning the brand, to designing the user experience and prototyping the app, to improving the design of the product itself. Hammerhead's routes now take into account factors like hills, traffic, and weather, and it will all add up to the world's most comprehensive database of bike routes. Something every rider will be able to benefit from using our free app, whether they purchase a Hammerhead navigation system or not. Hammerhead is off and running, selling an innovative, connected product and keeping the roads safer for everyone. This is Hammerhead.
Okay. So for Hammerhead, we performed a complete brand overhaul from the mark itself to messaging to visual design to iconography. We also helped prototype their industrial design, and we conceived and designed their app from scratch as well. So we're really proud of these companies. We're super lucky to be working with these guys. We've witnessed firsthand the blood, sweat, and tears that these startups put into their companies. It's been a great experience for us. Now, to give you a sense of the impact that we've had, I'd like to introduce RGA's Global Chief Operating Officer and Managing Partner of RGA Ventures, Stephen Plumley.
Good job, Rich. Thanks, Rich. So one of the insights that's driving our initiative is that right now in the startup ecosystem, financial capital is a commodity. And this creates a challenge, but also an opportunity for investors to provide additional value beyond just their checkbooks. But while cash is a commodity, creative capital is not a commodity, which means that digital agencies are very well positioned to create additional value for emerging businesses, better than many VCs, in fact. So agencies can provide not only financial capital, but creative capital in the form of the services that we provide, of course, and also client relationship capital in the form of connections with clients, partners, and customers. And this combination of financial capital, creative capital, and client relationship capital gives the portfolio companies an unfair advantage as they go to market and scale. So this idea of venture as a service is where the early stage investing ecosystem is headed. And top tier VCs like Andreessen and First Round understand this very well. But as you've seen today, startups need much more. However, for many VCs, the idea of services means legal, it means accounting, maybe some HR, maybe some recruiting. However, they need our creative capital to build a brand, to redefine their technology, and to build a compelling user experience right from the start. So digital agencies are very well positioned if they understand that, and especially if they understand tech and UX in addition to brand and creative. And of course, as agencies, we should be able to run circles around any VC when it comes to service and to relationships. So with the support of IPG, we formed RGA Ventures to take advantage of this strategic opportunity. And Ventures is the platform through which we've launched all of our accelerators. So let's take a look at the results. We've generated more than 1.3 billion media impressions over just the course of just our first 2 programs, with mentions across a wide variety of media. And our program has gained us recognition as a leader in the innovation space, both within our industry and across the business community. And we've also picked up a number of awards for the work itself, with Alveo winning a gold last year, as Rich said, and also several of the companies, I think 4 of the companies in our programs have won golds just in the last couple of days. So these kinds of awards help us retain and attract the best talent in the industry. And we've also developed relationships with some of the top investors in the US and around the world, many of whom are eager to work with us on our future programs. But I'm most proud to say that we've been successful in our most important goal, successful raises for our program companies. So the companies that have gone through our programs have raised double the average that accelerator companies have raised. And the majority of our program companies exceeded their initial raise targets and are now raising A and B rounds at higher and higher valuations. And of course, Shark Tank. We can't forget Shark Tank. After going through our program, Ryan and Naeem of Keen Home were invited to appear on Shark Tank, and they then walked away with the 4th highest offer ever on that program. So where are we going next? We're working on a number of initiatives to diversify what we're doing in a number of ways, including longer duration studio models, services tailored to later stage startups, and an increased focus on female founders. And starting in just a few weeks, the accelerator itself will be expanding by working with partners to launch multiple programs. And today I'm excited to be able to talk about 3 of these programs. First up are the LA Dodgers, one of the world's most recognizable sports brands, we're working with them to do an accelerator around sports technology, focused on companies that are at the intersection of sports, technology, media, and entertainment, including esports, fantasy, gaming, and VR. The program kicks off August 17th in our office in LA, and at the moment we're sorting through many hundreds of applications to select the 10 companies in the program. Next up is Metro, one of the largest retailers in the world, which is based in Germany. And together with Techstars, we're launching the world's first accelerator focused on all aspects of the hospitality and food systems value chain. And that program will launch in October in Berlin. And of course, this week we've sponsored the program here at Cannes, the Startup Academy. Over the past few days, we've been working with our hosts on a 3-day program for 10 companies which have come to Cannes from all around the world. And those founders are here with us now, and very looking forward very much to hearing them actually present their companies later today at 5 o'clock over at the Palais Press area. So come join us. And that's just the beginning. We'll continue to expand what we're doing, and by the end of 2016, we expect that the accelerator will be in 8 locations across 3 continents. What that means is that by the end of 2016, we could have as many as 80 companies in our portfolio. And this represents a completely different financial opportunity for us or for an agency. But that's actually not why we're doing the accelerator. We're growing the accelerator because it has provided many strategic opportunities for the agency. Opportunities for thought leadership in new areas, for trend spotting based on new deal flow, for new sets of relationships with innovators, which is very important for our talent, opportunities for partnerships, for acquisitions, and for business deals with our clients, and finally, opportunities for investment gains and new business models. And those 80 companies also represent future clients for us. So as we see it, this is our industry's future, and will become core, we think, to what agencies do. It's critical to driving innovation for us and for our clients. And that's why we think that agencies must engage in the startup ecosystem. And so an initiative like this requires the nurturing and cultivation of a huge network of partners and collaborators. And so I'd like to close actually by acknowledging and thanking IPG and all of those partners, mentors, investors, clients, and especially the RGA talent who've contributed to the program so far. I'd especially like to thank the founders and the teams of the startups that we've worked with, because as Rich and Nick have mentioned, they're the ones taking on all of the risk and attempting something that's really incredibly difficult. And it's been an honor for us to be part of the journey with them. So thank you, and now back to Bob to wrap up.
Thanks, Stephen. I'll be very quick. The program has really been a great experience for us. I'm glad that we were able to show it to you today. And its effect on RGA has been really significant. The program has unlocked an entirely new line of business for us, one that we're extremely excited about. But more than that, it's taught us a new way to work. As much as we've changed these businesses, they've really changed us. We've had to work leaner, smarter, and more nimbly than ever before, and we've translated that to all 17 of our offices. For our industry, we need to be working this way going forward if we're going to be successful in the coming years. And thank you all for attending today. Thank you.
Many thanks to Barry, Nick, Rich, Stephen, and of course, Bob Greenberg from RGA. Many thanks, gentlemen, for joining us this afternoon. Fantastic.